Oh, I was going to open the door for you.
No, over here.
I'm going to climb across the seat so I can help you out. All right, this car belongs to a good friend of mine. He's actually here for a tune. We're going to upgrade his ECU to an S300 and tune it. Also here for the exhaust. I was not ready for that. That's a lot louder than I expected. That hurt my ears. Yeah. So he has an exhaust. We're going to install it and hopefully it makes a difference. We're not building a one on this, so hopefully it does what he wants. But look at this. There is nothing better than a JDM front Integra. I'm a little bit partial to these, but you got to admit this is one of the most beautiful Honda / Acura, whatever you want to call it, that there is. Really. Yeah, it's pretty clean, isn't it?
Yeah.
So the engine that's in here is a V18C. It has skunk 2, tuner 2 cams, high compression pistons, of course intake, header and exhaust. We're going to be changing the injectors to S2000 injectors, gives us a little bit more fuel capacity. These are the factory injectors, which he told us they are. They are probably about out of fuel. The look, can't really tell what they are, but they're going to max out if you get 190 wheel horsepower. These injectors are maxed out. So S2000 injectors, factory injector, inexpensive. They fit if you get the newer injectors. The FP2 injectors use the top hats. Super install, super easy. So we're hoping it's going to be a little bit quieter, and so is he. So what we're going to do is, it has a programmed P28 in there, known as a chipped P28, with a program nobody knows what it is. So we're going to do a run just the way it is, kind of get an idea of his program, put our S300 in, tune it, see if we can get it a little bit higher, and of course make the drivability as perfect as we can. Alright, so the exhaust consists of, looks like a vibrant muffler and a 3-inch galvanized pipe, which is probably why it's so loud. It's 3-inch, and I mean, I'm sure he'll be excited to get rid of that. And that right there is a train slug hanging out in the pipe. So the exhaust he's got is stainless. It's just one of the cheaper exhausts, but it's got to be better than this. It's got to be quieter. We might have to tweak it to make it fit, which we'll do, because we don't want to leave in here with a exhaust that's all, you know, the tip is over here, and we want to make sure it's in that pocket. So we'll go over that with him. But battery relocate, you know, I remember doing that in 1997. I did it on my CRX. It's kind of a running joke. I went to No Peep, people asked where the battery was. I used to tell people I did the battery delete. I ran a power cable from the alternator to the starter. I never needed a battery. I hate to think how many people tried that and got home and went, it don't work. So this one's nice. So we'll get this exhaust off, put the new exhaust on, put it on the dyno, and we'll take it from there. These, if you haven't tried them, this isn't an endorsement. They're not giving them to us. We're not trying to sell them. We have no reason to tell you about these, except I want to share them with you because they're fantastic. These are my favorite, Belvita Blueberry, or Blueberry, however you want to say it. Check these out, they're phenomenal. Again, it's just a free PSA. Don't tell George, because he likes them too. Here's another tip, put them in the freezer. They just taste better that way. The wrench one. So you know when you're tightening 2 bolts and one wrench is pulling towards you and the other one's pushing away, and you're talking to somebody and going zip, zip, zip? That's what I did. The good news is, we have first aid. Esther, formerly known as Lisa. Look at that, that's good.
Blood, sweat, and tears right there.
I know, that's it. Yeah, there is blood. I'm not crying now.
No, no.
I might be crying soon.
Yikes, that's a good one.
Is he gonna need 3 stitches?
It could possibly need a little something.
Yeah, I felt that one pretty good.
Right there. A little bit purple there.
Is it really?
A little bit, yeah.
So I'd love to say that this was a direct bolt on and it fit. Notice how I said I wish we could, it didn't. This tip was way over here and way up here, and then the other best part is the piping along here, this angled down. This flange here was about here, so it pushed this end upwards and this end upwards. So we had to basically, if you can see there, we basically cut a pie and adjusted that so this is now horizontal. So it fits, I would say it fits 99%. This is why we insist on building custom exhausts one at a time and not mass producing them, because just it's known as a cumulative error. You imagine building an exhaust here and this being 2 millimeters off. If this flange isn't welded here exactly right, it only has to be 2 millimeters off. Guess what? You get to this end, it's 20 millimeters off, or 3/4 of an inch, depending on your measurements. So it's on, it looks a lot better, it's coming better. I still got a cut on my head, band-aid keeps coming up because I'm sweating, but it could be worse.
Well, my finger's staying on.
It could have happened to him, that would have been worse. But his finger's doing fine.
Yeah.
So this is back. We can run this on the dyno. We'll get a sound clip. Hopefully it's quieter than what it was. Then we'll put the S300 in and the S2000 injectors will start tuning. And then we'll show you more about this on a separate video. This is an S2000 with one of those belt-driven turbo thingies. Watch out for the video for that one. No, don't throw it down. We've got cars down here. Plus I got a band-aid on my head. That could have hit me on the head and knocked me clean out. Pretty fragile right now. So yeah, if you want to throw some boxes up, you are. That was when you first started. You didn't know what you was doing. Now you got some time under your belt, a little bit more confident, been through a couple of surgeries, been on a vacation, had a couple of kids, can handle it now. Sitting on the right side of the car, or the correct side.
Right, not correct, right.
Oh, the right side, okay.
Yes.
Don't they drive on the wrong side of the road over there too?
I think so.
Yeah. People tell me that all the time. You was born there. Are you used to sitting on that side of the car? Yeah. I left England in 1993. Alright, here's the exhaust. Let's get a sound clip. Hopefully it don't blow the speaker up on your computer or mobile device. That sounds better. We'll let it warm up a little bit and then we'll rev it. We'll get some sound clips for you. Alright, so let's pull it up on the dyno. See how straight George can get it sitting on the wrong side of the car. Or sorry, the right side of the car. So we're a big believer of safety. In this car is only going to make, you know, 190, 200 say. We still run 4 straps. One thing you got to be careful of, it's easy if you do this every day to get lazy and go, you know what, 2 straps will work. It's not going to make a lot of power. And if 1 strap fails, you got 1 strap pulling it the opposite direction. So this motor definitely looks good. So we'll see what kind of base run we're working with. I know the tune isn't that good because it starts up funny. Sometimes it backfires, sometimes it stalls. But a lot of people concentrate on full throttle when they're tuning a car. So we'll get that down the way and see how close we are. You see one?
No, not yet.
So one thing we always check is grounds, because if you don't have a good ground, obviously it will cause a lot of problems. It'll also cause problems with your data logger if it has electrical interference. But one thing we notice right here, this is a ground that is not in the right spot. It's probably not doing anything. First off, this part of the valve cover is not grounded because the valve cover is essentially floating. It's got a rubber gasket here, these are rubber under here, so this shouldn't be connected to a ground. So essentially this is doing nothing. And then if it did work, it's connected to a painted surface here, and unless the thread has an actual the correct bolt that will cut in the thread, this isn't going to be a good ground either. But it should also have a large ground on the transmission somewhere to the body.
I don't think there is one.
So if it's not, where is it getting its ground? Probably not a good ground wherever it is. So we're going to address that. We're going to move this to probably a different spot so it actually works, and then maybe add a ground on the transmission.
There's a bolt here where the battery is bolted down, and there's a couple bolts here on the top of the transmission, plus one there on the side. I think you can just go whip up a ground real quick.
Yeah, well, it needs one to the actual chassis.
Yeah.
It needs an engine to chassis ground.
The battery is grounded here with a bolt because the battery's underneath the front frame rail here.
Yeah. But essentially, the engine still isn't grounded correctly.
Yeah.
You gotta remember the sensors on the engine rely on a ground. The engine has to be grounded, has to be earthed, as they say in the UK. So we now got our a good grounds on it, we feel good. Replacing that one, we should be good to go. Okay, so we got the car on the dyno. We're going to bring it up to temperature and do like 2 runs just so we get an idea. We have the wideband plugged in. And again, there's not usually a lot of power to be found on a naturally aspirated car, as long as everything is kind of somewhat in check. You know, there's a few horsepower here and there. Most of it is drivability, and of course mid-range and making sure it's safe, making sure the air-fuel ratio is good. Make sure the timing map is correct for the setup too. Okay, it's up to temperature. We're going to do a 3rd gear run. We'll watch the air-fuel and we'll get a dyno report. I'll show you what it does. That it knocks, it rattles. Detonation. He's already running hard. Take the RPMs a little further. Yeah, he's already been running it hard. We're gonna keep a listening. If it knocks, we're not gonna run it. Did you hear that knocking? Degrees.
Is that 24?
24, is that good?
I mean, 24 may be a little high, but
BT. Try that. See if that sounds a bit better. 23 degrees timing, way too much. Even on a start motor, it's too much. I was afraid was going to run out of fuel before we finish that run. How much fuel do you have in it?
It's got about a half tank. We can probably make another run.
Probably make one more run, then we're going to have to put gas in it. That does sound real good, doesn't it? The VTEC's impressive though.
169, 131.
Yeah, but look at the VTEC. I got to take and show you this.
Big time changeover.
Wow. I was going to go get lunch and come back. Obviously that was our run where it detonated. Oh, VTEC's at $6 grand. 169.9, 131 torque. That means we got some potential. Let's just smooth out that air-fuel ratio a little bit. And again, just so you're not like shouting at the computer here, on an old motor car, unless you're running a ton of compression, air-fuel is not that big a deal. It really isn't. So air-fuel's all over the place. Starts out lean as could be, comes back to where it's about happy, goes back too lean, comes back where it's a bit too rich, comes back where it's happy for a little bit, and then this car should make us look good. We should look like heroes with this one, George. So the VTEC's too high. Everything's all off. That is awful. I was hoping it would do like 180, but even if it does 175, the graph is terrible. That VTEC changeover, the car is dying, and then VTEC kicks in. All right, let's let it cool. We're gonna go and eat lunch. We'll come back. We're gonna take the fuel injectors out, load in the Honda S300, and then work out magic. Okay, so this isn't an episode of Mill Time. This is an episode of Honda S300. So this is the best OBD1 system, of course, in my opinion. And it's the only OBD1 system I tune. I don't tune any of the other systems because so many of them are hokey. It's kind of like saying, will you work on my car? I've got my own wrench. What kind of wrench is it? Oh, it's an adjustable. It'll do everything. You know, also known as a crescent wrench. Well, that's not the best tool. I'd rather have a full set of tools that are the correct ones. Well, it's the same as tuning a vehicle. You can only work and do a good a job as the parts you're working with. So this is the way we do it. Now, rather than buying an ECU off somebody and getting it socketed and chipped, this is the way I do it. It's a brand new ECU. It's already prepped. It's the only way I do it. That way we know it's right. The capacitors are changed. Everything is done right. All the parts that are notorious for wearing out are changed. And of course this fits in absolutely perfect. So you want to make sure you don't bend the pins putting this in. You want to look on the side here, make sure it lines up, make sure it fits, and it fits the way it should do before you do anything extreme. And it should be absolutely perfectly parallel, and then push it down on the plastic pins. That's it. USB outlet is right here. The cable plugs in, the lid goes back on.
Alright, we've got the injectors out of the car. This is what it came with. After some internet searching, they appear to be some form of old Volvo injector. They've got kind of a weird two-hole thing down there. The spray pattern's probably not great. So we're going to put the S2000 injectors in like we mentioned before. They've got a little top hat on them to make them the correct size. And they're modified slightly on the bottom to get rid of the plastic that is not needed. But we're going to go ahead and put the newer style injectors in there and some spark plugs, the S300. And get to tuning. Hopefully we can make more than 169 horsepower.
ECU is in. We're going to go ahead and load a base map first. Base map is it's kind of a loose term these days. Base map is what most people think is a map that's ready to go. Base map is basically just a close program that you write to fit the car and its necessary parts, you know, injector size, things like that, timing. Everything is scaled to what you think it should be. I'll tell you one thing, our biggest fan here, as much as I love the thing, it's just so noisy. This thing is awesome, moves a ton of air. It's cool when you stand in front of it, it's just noisy. It really is, between that one and then the one at the other end. Alright, that's closer, just tweaked the calibration a little bit. Again, that's in open loop. We're going to let it warm all the way up, but it's sitting at 14. Obviously 14.7 is optimum storage, but that would also be corrected by the L2. So if we can get it close to 14.5-ish in open loop, and then from there we'll do our drivability and medium throttle. It's almost like this is the tuning episode. So let's let it warm up. We'll see where it kind of balances out. So we're pretty close with our map. We've got the calibration pretty close from idle to very, very light throttle to medium throttle. The problem is right now the car won't stay cool. It keeps getting up to 205, 210. We have 3 fans blowing on the car as hard as we can. And just after inspection, it has 2 of those little skinny, those Chinese fans. There's only 1 of them working, so that 1 fan is probably less than adequate. Also, you really need 2, and I recommend the small fans. So we're going to let it cool down for a minute, let it kind of stabilize, start it, try and get it in the 180, 190 range. The trick is you want to keep the temperatures the same. You don't want to get some false horsepower from a cool down. One of the dyno tricks is to, you know, do all your tuning at high temperature, let the car sit overnight, do a base run in the morning, and hey, look at that, look how much power we made. But it's not really a repeatable number, so I don't like to do that. I like to keep the car 180, 190, run after run after run, that's your number. Then you don't trick it, you're getting realistic numbers. Does that make sense? Start it here in about 5 minutes, try and get it, you know, balanced out. We'll go from there. Alright, let's do a full throttle run, we'll see where we are. We've done all of our medium and partial throttle and medium to heavy. Let's give it the beans. keep in mind this is a base run. This is a base map I just put together. So the fuel's all wonky. It's a little bit rich here. We've got a lean spot. Kind of balances out, but let's take the torque off it just so we can see a side by side. So there you go. Red was the run that we came in on. Blue is my run. And again, it's the very first run, so don't critique it too much. And of course the air fuel is all jacked up still. It's not horrible, but this is the 12-to-1 line here, and I want to sit around the 12-to-1. It's a little bit too lean there. It is about 13 there, which isn't horrible, but it's a high comp motor, so I want it a little bit richer. And over here is pretty good. It's about 12.4 up here. So let's close that first off. So that was my run right there, my base map. So now I have something to go off. I gotta fix that thing there, fix that, bring this up a little bit, and we'll start working on everything else. But picked up 10 horsepower, and the graph looks a whole lot better right now. Beautiful. Clean as a whistle. Alright, so final number 193 and 134, but the amazing thing is look at the torque here. So that's our before and after. Look at this right here. Let's take the torque off just so you can see it a little more clear. But look at all that mid-range we made. Look at the changeover. And look at that up top. The amazing thing is how much power we made. That's pretty impressive for an all-motor car. It's really difficult to get the tune that far off to make that much power. It really is. So this guy should be super happy. I'm gonna go ahead and give him the news now. Let's go ahead and put the torque on there and take the horsepower off. There is the torque right there. Look how flat the torque curve is. It's very usable torque. So this is great. Again, the peak isn't showing everything because of the amount you're losing right here. I mean, look at this in the mid-range. 20 foot-pounds of torque right there. So this is going to be a fun car to drive, and I'm excited to call him and tell him it's done. A little bit. Can we cut that bit off?
Yeah, we can.
I feel like I'm looking at a mole. It's like when you're looking at everything you see is this, and you find yourself going cross-eyed.
Watch out, me with scissors.
Yeah.
Here, move. I'll be very
Don't
careful.
cut my eye, yo.
Hold on, let me take my earpiece off. I'm not talking to anybody on the phone.
Yeah, if you get a call right now, just let it go.